Marco Reus. Daniel Malen! Wonderful!
Fantastic from Reus. Jude Bellingham, that's excellent. Jude Bellingham, this is absolutely brilliant. Jude Bellingham! Absolutely magnificent.
Reina, brilliant from the American. Just like that.
Best of clearances. Oh, what a volley. Mats Hummels.
Brandt in for Haaland! Like he's never been away! The man in front of goal who is simply deadly.
Hey, welcome to the BVB Podcast. This is your first time hanging out and listening. Thank you so much. You can find us on your preferred podcast platform and YouTube if you search the BVB Podcast. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the BVB Pod. Or if you want to reach out on email, it's the thebvbpod@gmail.com. I got it right that time. I've messed it up so many times, but I flew through that. So on that note,
that's huge.
That I finally hit it perfectly, we have to announce that this is the final episode of the BVB Pop.
You were so close.
I was so close.
Oh, no.
This episode is out on April Fool's Day, so happy April Fool's Day.
I didn't even know we were going that.
Carver's just like, I don't know what's going on, and then I started to stutter. It's like,
he just looks at me and he's like, yeah, that's right. We're done.
Hope you had fun.
Yeah.
No, not really. We're just getting started. My name is Jake. Carver is with me as always. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. It's a very cold and gross day in St. Louis, but we have full capacity Westfalenstadion this weekend. So I am super excited for that. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Speaking of full capacity, I went to... we've talked a lot about being in St. Louis. We're getting our MLS team. We had our MLS Next Pro game kick off their season, and I went to that game, which was a sellout crowd.
Yeah.
It was nuts, and they got the first win in league history, not only for them but for the actual league because it's a brand new league. So
batting 1,000. Let's just go ahead and liquidate the team and be the best team in MLS history.
I mean, no big deal. Winning right off the bat. Even we don't even have Berkey yet, but soon. Soon we will. But yeah, enough about St. Louis. Yeah, full capacity crowd this weekend. Of course, we got a big game coming up for Dortmund taking on Leipzig. So that's mainly what this episode is going to be, is previewing that game. So it might be it's not the last episode, but it will be probably a shorter episode because we don't have any games to recap. There was coming off the international break. So we are going to talk USMNT a little bit, especially Gio Reyna. We're Americans, so we're pretty excited. We have a lot of American listeners. We're probably also excited too. So we're going to talk USMNT, maybe some World Cup. We have a women's update from the homie Adam Dorofsky. I'm just going to say it, Dorofsky, the German W. I'm going to throw it in there. So we'll get a women's update from him. And then we're just we got 7 games, final 7 games of the season. So we're going to give just a quick little run through of those. And I don't want to say the title race is on, but we're going to maybe calculate some points and have a little bit of hope. I'm hopeful. I'm not hopeful.
Neither am I.
It depends on the day, really. Yeah, Saturday, if we win, I'll be a lot more hopeful. But
we'll be back next week going, champions, baby.
I mean, we should probably just jump right into to start previewing Leipzig.
Yeah.
Which they've had quite the turnaround this season. And now they look like, they beat us when they weren't looking great. And now they're looking a lot better with their new coach.
Yep. Since the sacking of Jesse Marsch, their season has completely turned around, and they are looking like a whole new side under Dominic Tedesco, if I'm saying that correctly. He's a very young coach. I think he's like 36, but he is, again, really transformed this team, and they've lost just one single game this calendar year so far. So and I think it was against Bayern, and it was just barely against Bayern. I think it was just 3-2. So they are looking very dangerous.
Yeah. Pre-sacking Jesse Marsch, they were like mid-table.
Oh yeah, they were falling in, I think, close to 10th or something like that.
Very inconsistent. As soon as they sacked him, though, that was something I knew. I was aware of, like, they're probably going to come up and come into the like Champions League spot. They're going to be a contender, obviously, and that's exactly what they've done. They're sitting in 4th now. The table, mid-table to the 4th is like really tight. They're tied on points, I think, with Freiburg. They have a pretty high goal differential, 27 goals. But yeah, they've just looked much better. And they beat us the first time, like I said, when they weren't looking great. So obviously it's going to be pretty tough game. But as you mentioned, and we mentioned a couple times, sellout crowd, full capacity stadium, which is going to be just we can't lose this. It's going to be nuts.
There's no way we lose it. There's no way we come out under Leipzig again. Jude Bellingham will be playing in front of the yellow wall for the first time in his career as a Dortmund player. I think Haaland has played in front of our stadium that's at full capacity maybe like 4 games. When I was in Dortmund, it was February of 2020, literally a calendar month or so before the coronavirus really started becoming like a pandemic. And Haaland was playing then, but I can't remember too many games after that he played, because it went into lockdown. So this is going to be exciting for the fans. It's going to be exciting for the players to play in front of such a beautiful atmosphere. And it's going to be excited for the world to watch. It's a big game too. It's not just like we're playing a relegation battling team.
Yeah. Exciting for Rosa too. He talked in his pregame presser. We have the tendency to record our episodes the day before the pre-match press conferences come out. So we are doing this a little later than obviously we usually put out episodes on Wednesday, but record a little bit later because we had the USMNT game Wednesday night. But Rosa even said, he's like, I've come to the stadium multiple times with different teams facing the yellow wall and a full capacity crowd, and it's been very intimidating. So he's excited to have that on his back, and hopefully, obviously there's been fans in the stadiums, but not full on. And I know there's some fans who are kind of back and forth with how they feel about him, but hopefully he can just prove and to everybody, full crowd, that he's our coach moving on, and we can trust him and have faith with him moving forward, which I think that's what this game is. It's such a big game, taking on Leipzig, who are significantly better now. This can just set the tone for the next 7 games, and we've had the international break. A lot of guys were out. We had 10 guys out on international duty. So not everyone, it wasn't just a break for the whole team where everyone got to regroup and train and everything, but it's just another one of those moments that can be a good turning point for this season. And we've kind of been building. We've had a decent run in the Bundesliga, getting some clean sheets and some wins. Our last game was so long ago, I don't remember how. We tied. Was it?
Yeah, it was
tied.
1-1.
But this is just one of those moments, like another turning. How many moments of these have we had? But this is kind of it. I feel like this is the last stand almost. If we win this, then when we win this, it's just going to be a good platform to finish out the rest of the season on. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, you said it. I mean, this next game will set the tone. It's going to be, are we going to be flying to the finish line, or are we going to be limping to the finish line come the end of the season? I think it's been kind of without a doubt that we're going to be locking down second place, but or at least second place, excuse me. But now it's a matter of, how close can we get to Bayern and how well can we play for these last few games. I mean, you mentioned already that Leipzig look significantly better under their new manager. He's playing, it looks like a lot of times, 3 at the back with 4 midfielders and 3 attackers, and not so much kind of like the wide 3 that we would play with like a left winger, a striker, and a right winger, but more of I think Dani Olmo would play in the middle or in the hole, and then have 2 strikers up top, and then Cuckoo and Andre Silva besides him. And a lot of their plays or build-up comes through Kevin Campbell. I don't know if you know Kevin Campbell much, but he used to play for Dortmund, actually. I think it was only maybe 2 years, if that. But he's grown to be a lot better of a player at Leipzig, and a lot of the possession runs through him. And as they progress up the field, it looks like a lot of times their attacks are going through Angelino. That provides the numbers in attack, and through the wings, he brings in a lot of great quality in those wide areas. So I don't know who's going to be able to match up against Angelino. And we have, 4 injured right backs at the moment? Meunier's out, Paslak's out, Moret obviously is injured. Who else? I mean, Chan, I guess, is a right center back, but
I forgot about all the injuries in that position, because we're going to talk about injuries in a little bit, but I was thinking optimistically, like, oh man, do we have a lot of guys back? And then I just forgot how many people in that position are out. But
I mean, a lot of their build-ups again. So they'll have the 3 at the back, and then Campbell will kind of come back for a 3+1, and then he'll channel it up and give it to Angelino as they move up the field. And that's whenever he's able to either whip in across to players like Andre Silva, who's very deadly in the air, or kind of do some back and forth with Nkunku, because Nkunku has been, I mean, in my opinion, their best player this season. He's incredible in pretty much every aspect in attack that you could think of. He's, not only a very solid finisher, he's got plenty of goals this season, but I mean, not to mention his handful of assists as well, and his playmaking ability, his dribbling in tight areas. I mean, he sent us for a few hot dogs in Leipzig a few months back. I remember watching him. He was terrifying to watch when he got into our third. But yeah, I mean, so we got a pretty good sense of, what their game plan is usually like, but it's just a matter of how we're going to be able to match it,
Yeah, on the Nkunku note, I know he's been getting a lot of hype lately, and I get it, and he's been playing well, and a lot of it is the team has been playing well, and I don't mean that to belittle him. He's, in turn, the team is playing well, and he's playing a lot better too, but there's been so much hype around him lately saying, oh, one of the best strikers in the world. I just want to point out, 27 matches, he has 15 goals, and he's their leading goal scorer. And
he also has 9 assists as well. And he's not
that's good.
Shit, really? All right.
I'm not.
But it's not like a pure out-and-out striker. Again, he's a lot more of a playmaker. He can play on pretty much either wing, and a lot of times also in the hole as well. So that combination of him and Silva up top are very, very deadly. And I mean, Leipzig already are known for having, the quick playing style and intense attacks, and on their day, they're one of the most deadly teams in Europe.
I think he is going to be a problem, and he'll probably score one against us. And I'm not trying to belittle him, because it's good. 15 goals is good on this season. All I was going to point out is in 17 games, Haaland still has 16 goals.
I know.
It's just unfortunate that he hasn't been playing and banking in more, especially when we need him.
And speaking of Haaland, he picked up a knock in the game when he was playing for Holland. When he was playing for Holland, when he was playing for Norway, and they were playing Armenia the other day, which, by the way, I called it last week. I said, I'll put money. I should have put my goddamn house, but I put money on, I said I'd put money on one of our players going on this break and getting some sort of quote unquote knock, and just a few day thing. And then it's going to turn into fucking who knows at this point.
I thought you were going to say you put money on, which I did remember you saying that, but you also mentioned it's going to be a good opportunity for him to
pick up some
bang some goals in, which he did. He got 2 in the first half of the game. I mean, Norway scored 9. It was just insane. But 2 in the first half, and then
he was taken off at half.
That injury. Yeah.
I don't know if you saw some of the photos of I didn't watch the game, but
his ankle.
Yeah, but dude, my God, those tackles were illegal. I mean, that was murder.
In the box.
In the box. Yeah. In a friendly, no less. So, with our luck, Jesus Christ. So I really hope he can get healthy soon. I really don't think we should, unfortunately, rush him into a game like this. It sucks because we desperately need a player of his ability in this level of a game. But yeah, you don't want to rush it with his injury list prior to this game. I mean, I said it before, but when your game or Haaland's game relies on pace and power that much, and you start picking up these knocks left and right that are anywhere from a few weeks to a month or two at a time, it's going to rack up real quick at your age. And, if you could be spending the majority of your career on the sidelines, or your game suffers dramatically because you get the pace and power sucked out of you because you're constantly picking up these knocks. I mean, again, he spent most of this season, or at least half of the season, on the bench, it seems like.
Yeah, it's been a bummer, which I think we mentioned it a lot before, but that's kind of why everyone's already fed up and done with him, because we just haven't been able to see him, so people are all over it. But
yeah, it makes it easier to kind of want him gone. I mean, he
hasn't officially been ruled out, but as of Thursday in the presser, Marco Rose said his participation is very questionable, to be honest. He said on Thursday, Erling is always very optimistic, but the foot is big, swollen, blue. We're working on it, but there's a big question mark. So if it's that swollen on Thursday, he's
probably
not going to be out.
And muscles take longer to repair than bones somehow, because the human body is full of wonders. And, so this could be something that unfortunately is going to last quite a while, which, no surprise there, I guess, given our injuries this season.
Until you reminded me that we still have more injuries. We do have some people back, though. Looks like Royce should be back.
Yes. Yep. which he's going to be huge. We could have really used him against in the other game against Köln. We know we really need someone to be able to have the vision and intelligence to break those initial pressing lines. And I know Leipzig are a team that likes to press pretty high, so he's going to be very much needed. And also, he's got a good record of like really shitting on him, which a lot of our team usually plays very well against Leipzig in general. But yeah, he's going to be a huge addition to the team.
And Hazard, I guess I didn't see this, but I heard about it in the presser today. But Hazard, I guess, got a knock during the international break, so he's questionable. He said he looks good and he's training, but I don't know exactly what his injury was. But he's could possibly be in. Besides, and then Hummels should be back too. I know he was taking a while to recover. He'd been on the bench the last couple of games, but hasn't played. Probably a slow recovery from COVID, but he's possible. We know Akanji is in. He was playing over the international break. So
Zagadou is back in full training. Okay. I doubt he plays Saturday or Sunday, but maybe in the next week or two we can have him come at the end of the season. We could always use more defenders at this point, especially with Schultz being injured. We really don't have anyone to play on the left or right.
So we don't usually do like full lineup prediction, but do you have I want to get your take on a lineup prediction, how we might line up Saturday.
Oh boy, put me on the spot here.
Because Reyna is also healthy. We're going to talk about USMNT and how he played. But he played every game. He didn't start. He played like 30 minutes each game, but I think that was kind of just easing back into form. Although he played 90 for Dortmund last week, just kind of easing him into things. My only concern with him is he played so recently. They just played last night, and then he's got to fly back. So
yeah.
Take some time to rest and get ready to go, but I think he should be good.
I would have. So my prediction would be a 3 at the back because, again, we don't have any fit right backs at the moment. Wolf could play right wing back, but there's no way he would play, that deep as an actual right back. So we'll probably have Akanji, Chan, and Hummels as our back 3, with Guerrero pushing up a little bit further on the left side, which hopefully that'll help him in his form. I've mentioned last week that he's really struggling a lot this season, but I think given a little less defensive responsibility, he'll look a little bit better. And then probably similar to what we've been seeing of Witsel, Bellingham, and then Dahoud's back as well.
Oh, yeah.
And then up top, you could have, if Haaland's not there, Royce and Malen maybe? It'd probably be like a 4.
Oh,
or not a 4. A 3-4, 3-5-2 almost.
Yeah, it would be interesting. Where do you see Reyna slotting in? Maybe he doesn't make. Obviously he didn't make your predicted lineup, but I guess in general.
Yeah, it just depends. I guess. I imagine he maybe could start over Witsel. I think just Witzel's been better in recent weeks, and he's fully fit too, and we don't really have many other players in that position. But he would either come on and with probably 20 or 30 minutes to go, or if Rosa decides to put Dahoud in that deeper lying 6 role, then Reyna could probably slip in as the 8.
Cool. Yeah. Anything else about? Like I said, we're gonna not preview, but we'll go through the final 7. Anything else about Leipzig coming up in this weekend?
No. So my prediction. So our record against Leipzig in general in the Bundesliga is 7-2-3, and we have only lost to them once at home. I think it was back in the Peter Bosz era, 2017 or whatever it was. So I'm feeling good. I think I'm going to go still. If Haaland doesn't play, I'm going to go 2-2, and yeah, probably just draw.
Oh man, that's not what I wanted to hear.
I know that's not what I wanted to say either, but I can't imagine. I don't know. Hopefully I'm wrong. Maybe the energy in the atmosphere will be too overwhelming for Leipzig. They're not a team that has really any history or anything like that, so maybe they could just be kind of. And they have a lot of really young, unproven players, so they could just kind of collapse and we could take advantage of them. But I can also imagine them coming out and punishing us relatively early on with a mistake, maybe at the back or getting punished on the right, and then kind of having to claw our way back into it. So What about you?
I am going to be optimistic and say
Let's hear it. Lay it
with
on.
the yellow wall behind us or in front of us, depending on which direction we're facing. I'm not going to be too optimistic. I would say 2-1. I think we can edge out a win at home. Big crowd. I think we can do it.
It's realistic. It's not something that would be too surprising. But.
It's so frustrating about Haaland. I would say I would be very confident with him and say 3-1. It's just such a bummer. And we need to see Malen produce. I mean, but I can bank Royce coming back and getting a goal.
Me too. I was going to say, I can't imagine Malen netting one in this game. Leipzig's defense, I would imagine, kind of eat up players like Malen, not the strongest, and they have pace, and they have plenty of strength, and he can be kind of easy to push off the ball at times. So I can't imagine him netting one. But I can imagine Royce getting one, maybe Dahoud.
I can also see, this was going to be a transition into the U.S. men's national team, but Gio Reyna coming on, getting a goal that he didn't get in the international break, or at least getting 3 assists, because he looked so good.
He did look pretty good. Yeah. I mean, if anyone, I guess, hasn't seen it already, go online and look at the incredible run that he made against Mexico when he came on. I'm imagining he'll come back and, he's been slowly being incorporated more into the squad more and more over recent weeks. And I think this is finally the time for him to really, if he doesn't start, get a lot of minutes at towards the second half and then start being a starter again, depending on his form.
Wait, for Dortmund or for US men's
For
team?
Dortmund,
okay.
yeah. For Dortmund, yeah. Because I know he did. I was wondering whenever he didn't start either of the 3 games for the U.S., and I was wondering if maybe Dortmund had talks with Berhalter and the men's national team, and they're like, "Hey, you can't play him much because we're very cautious, of his medical issues at the time."
Yeah, it's interesting because he just had played 90 minutes for Dortmund.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's 3 games in about a week-long period, so it's a lot of games back-to-back. And then I guess in Mexico, he got a lot of the team and staff had some kind of stomach bug, and I guess he was really affected by that. But then he also came on and played that game too.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird. But I would have liked to see him start, as far as just me being a Gio fan, and I want to see him tear it up. Which we saw him tear it up when he came on to play the final 30 minutes of each game. That Mexico game was so frustrating, which is crazy to say. I mean, I've heard a lot of USMNT fans in other podcasts and be like, everyone's frustrated. We didn't get the win at the Azteca. We've already transitioned, by the way. We're kind of, that was a weird blended transition, but we're full on USMNT now. Talking about Gio, though, it's going to be a little back and forth with Dortmund. But it's funny to say that we're frustrated and upset with getting a draw at the Azteca, which never won there.
Mm-hmm.
And we looked like we should have won that game. And I know Mexico hasn't really been up to scratch with what they usually are. And a lot of the talk is their fans are frustrated with how they've been playing. So playing at the Azteca isn't even as difficult as it used to be, because it's not as much of a hostile environment. But the thing that was so frustrating for me in relation to Gio is him making that run, which was incredible. And the most beautiful thing ever, he worked it basically like a complete box-to-box run. He sent 6 Mexican players flying in all directions, just breaking
6
everybody's
hot dogs
ankles.
confirmed.
Just insane. The frustrating thing is he had to do that because nobody was showing him anything.
I'm glad you said that. I thought at first you were going to go with he should have passed it, which very few people,
couldn't.
but some people said online, he should have passed it. It's like, to who?
There was nobody there, and that was kind of, at least in the second half. I know we had the option with Christian Pulisic, should have scored that goal. It's still, granted, it's still it's a tough shot, but that's something you would expect him to put away. 9 times out of 10 he does. But besides that, and then there was one other chance. Oh, the chance it was a great not cross, but like a ball in from the back line that Gio cut back to.
It was Jordan
Pifak.
Pifak, yeah. Who had arguably a worse miss. Good Lord. That was insane to watch. I mean, frustrating in all different ways you could say for that game. Not only we should have pulled out from the win, but Mexico already is just an incredibly frustrating team to play against. especially as an American. I mean, just, my God, the way they just are constantly throwing passes back and forth between their center backs and not making like any progressive runs or taking any chances. So you just have to sit there and weather the storm for like 70% of the game and, stay concentrated and really just try to suppress Mexico as much as you can, which is it's so frustrating. But, the team played well. At least well enough to get some sort of results out of this. And it should have put a few away.
Yeah. It's good that we're frustrated that we didn't get the 3 points out of it. Great to get the point, and that did help. It helped a lot in this window. It's kind of what we needed. It's like if you were to look at this window, you probably wouldn't expect to get a point out of the Azteca. So it's good that we did. But I remember I was texting my brother about the game, and I was just like, it was so bland almost. I feel like we didn't create because we didn't. And he was like, oh, but that chance by Gio and his awesome run. I was like, yeah, that was it. Like that was like I didn't feel like we created a lot besides that. And I guess my point back to the Gio thing, it's like we just didn't show. People weren't showing enough. They weren't around enough. They weren't. I don't know.
Yeah. The attack for the men's national team has been a big struggle for as long as I could remember. I mean, we've been looking for a decent striker since before 2014, and even then, I mean, years before that, I started really only becoming like a really big soccer fan after like 2010 or so. So I don't even know who much we had before that. But it's just really tough for us to get things going in attack at times, and especially whenever you're playing against a team like Mexico that doesn't take any chances. I mean, they had 63% possession. The U.S. sat back with 37% possession. So it was just, all three of these games, were pretty frustrating in attack, even though going into the next one against Panama, we looked a lot better. I just think Panama were a little bit more easy to break down. And we came at it with a whole different look in attack with Ferreira instead of Pepe,
Mm-hmm.
And Ferreira kind of plays as a false nine, and I think that does a good job of opening them up different defenses.
I think so. On the striker note, we obviously don't have like a star striker. We don't have someone who can just turn the game and score.
Mm-hmm.
They can put it at their feet and they can run with it.
No true finisher, really.
No,
we really don't have one.
And that's why I like the Ferreira thing. I like him playing because it's almost like you said, play like a false nine. It's like maybe it's hard to set that strategy when in these international breaks that are like really small windows and really create that and groove that system. It's kind of hard to do, but at the same time, it's like, well, maybe we should try it because we don't. I don't know. It seems like the true out and out strikers like Pepe and I don't know. We just haven't been able to. That's such a frustrating thing. And then you rely on not having that go-to guy, and then you rely on Reyna or Pulisic to create a lot, which is not a bad thing, but there's just not that option to send it to up front. But we did bang in 5 against Panama, and that was a fantastic seeing Christian seeing
his first
hat trick, fired up, yelling at everybody, fighting everybody, trying to fight everybody. It was really cool to see, and that kind of pretty much secured it, especially getting the 5 or 4 goal win, scoring 5. Definitely was helpful.
There was a handful of really good standout players in that game. I already mentioned Ferreira, but Ferreira's really growing on me. At first I was pretty unsure about him, but the more I watch him for the men's national team, I don't watch MLS much, but he looks like he's slotting himself really well into that squad. And if Pepe doesn't really start to produce the numbers that we think he is in the coming year or two, Sargent's been kind of in question as well in recent months. I think that position is still definitely open for him to slowly insert himself into if we can't find other options. But Luca de la Torre, also looked phenomenal. I think I haven't seen him play much at all, but he looked so smooth on the ball, and he was very composed as well. He just looked like he was a veteran in that midfield.
I think he played one game in the last window, or it might have been the previous window before that, but he's a guy who, I don't remember where he plays, but it's not one of the
center mid.
His club team.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I think it's I don't watch, know too much about the club, but I think it's Heracles, which is in the Dutch league.
Yeah, so not one of the big leagues. So I don't even know how to find the Dutch. It might be on ESPN Plus, but I've never seen him play. I've never sought out to watch. But every time he has played, he's looked so good, and he looks like such a small guy, but he can run it. Like he's so smooth, and he's looked really great. Of course, McKinney's out, so I think we get to World Cup. Fast forward. If everyone's healthy, I mean, it's going to be Adams and Musa and McKinney, but he's a great option to have in there.
Yeah. Anthony Robinson as well looked great all 3 of these games. I'm glad he's now solidified as our left back going forward, because I think it was a few years ago when I think he made 1 or 2 appearances and then was taken out. I think it was after the Brazil game in 2018 or something like that. But ever since then, he hasn't really been in our squad much, and I always wondered, I'm like, why? We don't really have a left back. At the time, we were playing 35-year-old MLS players like DeMarcus Beasley, and now that Anthony Robinson is finally getting his opportunity, he's really taking it. He's becoming a staple in our back 4.
Yeah, it's another situation though where I think he made a lot of runs, and then you kind of get to the end or the final third, and it's kind of missed out on options. Because he's great at running with it, and he's so strong, and he's got a lot of good technical ability.
And like I said, he's got the stamina of, I don't know what. He's running all goddamn game, and he's sprinting as well, and so he's got a great work rate and good crossing ability too. He's looks like he's usually creating a lot of our chances if Pulisic is kind of slotting more into the center role at times. We still need a player that attacks kind of on the wings, and he's really providing that.
Okay, I'm going to I think I texted you this hot take. I'm going to loop it back to the striker situation again, because, you mentioned it's kind of there for maybe Sargent to come back in. That position is in there for anyone to come in.
It really
Nobody has done anything with it. And I texted you this hot take. Daryl Dike, starting star striker for us in the world, for U.S. in the World Cup. And because he had just made his move to West Brom, I think West Brom in the championship is when I made that hot take. And unfortunately got injured right off the bat. I don't know if he scored any goals before he got injured, but he's such a big figure. He's a big body in the box. When he moved to, where did he go to last year?
Barnsley,
and he started banging in goals.
Yeah, and 9 goals in 13 games, and what a lot of people say is arguably the most competitive league in Europe, the Championship in England.
I just think he's personality, and he's the type of personality and the type of athlete to be, and he is a big body, be physical, especially now playing in the Championship. I think that's a good league, and it's a good league for him to develop in. That when we get to the World Cup, if he gets a chance, he can be such a presence in that box that it will open things up and create more. And he is a target. Like when you like Pepe was the one game where he scored a brace and he did great. I don't remember the game, El Salvador or something, but when he made his debut and scored and got an assist and did fantastic. But we haven't seen much since. And then Ferreira is just he did score in this last game and he does really well, but he's not that big figure. And I think if Daryl can get back and get healthy, he can still be that. He just needs to. It's really unfortunate that he basically had no part in these World Cup qualifiers, so he really just has to show it in the Championship. But I'm sticking with that, and I think he can be the guy, especially that it's still up in the air. It's still up for grabs.
Yeah, it's going to really just depend on how his first season ends with West Brom. He's played, I think it was like 2 games, and then picked up the hamstring injury, and he's been injured since. And so it's just going to be a matter of if he looks decent those last few games of the Championship, and then also the first few months of the next season. But it's a little concerning too about which team he's at. West Brom is known for being a pretty big, at least from my understanding in recent years, or at least a few years back, a team that really is parking the bus, and they're not much of an attacking team. And also they have Steve Bruce now, which he was a disaster at Newcastle. So I hope Daryl Dike can perform at West Brom because, yeah, he's someone that I do rate highly as well and think he could very well slot into the striker role. But the same goes for Pepe too. I was kind of concerned about his move to Augsburg. I think it's huge that he went to the Bundesliga, and I'm very happy for him. But also, Augsburg have been in a relegation battle, which seems like all season. And if he got relegated, I just wouldn't want him to turn into like another Bobby Wood, if that rings any bells. He played in like the second league in Germany for a few years and then didn't really produce and just kind of bounced around Europe. And then I think back in the MLS now for something like that.
Yeah. Do we have a striker who's not in a relegation battle? I mean, DK is not, but West Brom has been fallen. They got relegated out of Premier League last year, and they've just been fallen. It has not been great.
Norwich are going down with Sargent, that's for sure. I'm blanking on other men's national team strikers at the moment.
Ferreira he can't get relegated because he's in MLS, so he's in a good position. But Dallas was not great last year.
No,
I think they've done decent to start the season, but yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Your thoughts on Costa Rica game?
Just the last thing I want to say about the Panama is it's frustrating we couldn't get a clean sheet. That would have been. That would have been technically, or I almost said 2 clean sheets in a row, which would have been nice. So, and I imagine Zach Steffen was pretty pissed. He looked pretty frustrated right whenever that went in the 86th minute. But yeah, Costa Rica, that was a whole different beast, man. I mean, they put on a handful of players that were like 18, 19. I mean, they're number 9. I don't know much of anything about their players because they were making debuts and they were like 17 years old. But I mean, they came to play and they really did a number on us. That was nothing short of just a really good learning opportunity for that game.
Yeah. They were great. Like, we could not cross the ball in for anything. They were everywhere. Like they were like winning every challenge, blocking every cross. Like it was nuts. And that the goal, we had the goal chance. I don't remember who it was. I don't remember who shot it, but there was this shot of their keeper Neves came.
Pepe.
Was it Pepe?
Yeah.
Neves came out and he's getting back, like struggling to get back in front of the goal, and they just had 5 dudes in front of the goal. They were just so hard to break down. They were everywhere.
God, Keylor Navas is so good. The second that Navas made that save, and it was a pretty, a really tough angle for Pepe to score, but he still had to, put his laces through it and really gave it some power. And just Navas's reflexes at 35 are just uncanny. So, I mean, you already knew with how frustrating we can be going forward, and the attack for the U.S. is not the best. And then also Costa Rica have, like, in my opinion, one of the top 10 best goalkeepers in the world. We knew it was going to be really tough for them to break them down. And yeah, their defense performed really well as well. I mean, David Chacon, I remember he had like a handful of really beautiful tackles that completely shut down players like Weah and Pepe, had them in their pocket. So it was a pretty frustrating game.
Yeah, but doesn't really matter because we're going to the World Cup. Yeah. We had to lose by 6, so it's all good. It was funny seeing the player. Not funny, but the players were obviously really frustrated. But I also saw reports like, once they got to the locker room, it was kind of like the switch flipped, and they all start to realize, we're going to the World Cup. We missed out last year, or not last year, the last World Cup. So, but I think Pulisic on the post-game interview was just like, I just hate losing so much. So it was a tough situation. I even had some friends texting last night who are like, this is weird to celebrate that we're going to the World Cup coming off that loss.
Yeah, the studio was a bit odd in my opinion. Like they were, the clock was lying down those last like 2 or 3 minutes of added time, the studio was just like, man, my heart's pounding. I cannot wait for this. This is going to be so exciting. And I was like, we're down 2-0. Like we're qualifying, but like let's calm down here and see the celebrations in the locker room afterwards. I imagine, I don't know, hopefully they had some sort of talk, but yeah, they were going crazy in the locker rooms too. And I was like, this is still like a big learning experience, and there's still a lot of decisions to be made by Berhalter, huge decisions. And there's a lot of things we need to work on before the World Cup. So I don't know about like all that hype, but I mean, obviously the hype is due for qualifying, but.
Okay. So moving forward to the World Cup, obviously CONCACAF is just weird. It's a weird conference or whatever. And and it's weird to play. What are your thoughts? This team playing against like other big European teams or big South American teams. What are your thoughts about USMNT in general playing in the World Cup? Because I think it's completely different. I think I just wish we didn't play in CONCACAF, but that's just what it is. But it's a completely different beast to play CONCACAF than playing those teams. And I mean, I'll let you go first. But what do you?
You know, I'm gonna have maybe a hot take here, but I can probably imagine us having a pretty rude awakening in Qatar. I think Greg Berhalter is kind of way over his head still with this squad, and I think we're going to get pretty exposed, and we're not going to have near as good of a run as in 2014. But I would imagine we probably get like one win maybe, and then either two losses or a win, a draw, and a loss, and get knocked out and not make it to the knockout stage.
All right, bummer much. So, I mean, okay, this is the first time we've done like a USMNT where we've featured you. So we're not trying to be USMNT experts. I'm not, at least. Carver is over here doing his thing. I don't know. Carver, are you a USMNT expert?
I mean, I've followed them heavily. I mean, I didn't grow up watching them too much, but since 2014 or so, I've become a pretty big fan. They're like the second team behind Dortmund that I do follow. Yeah.
I don't know where I was going with that other than there's other like legit USMNT podcasts out there. But
Scuffed.
So all I was going to say is I'm kind of optimistic in the sense, well, I've not always agreed with Berhalter, what he's done. I don't know if I'm in or out on him. Just kind of depends on the day and the window. Yeah. I haven't agreed with a lot of his decisions. But I feel that this team, in your individual European experience, I think they can line up against a European team decently well. I don't know if I have faith in Berhalter, like going up and what his tactics might be, but I trust the individuals to put on really good performances and feel a little more in their elements and not be intimidated, knowing that they play in the top leagues consistently. They maybe play against these guys consistently, but then again, we're not playing in the Euros. We're not playing against European teams. We've always struggled against Ghana. We've always had that's been a team that it's difficult. And then South American teams is going to be a thing too. But I think in those moments, say we come up against I was going to say Germany, we're going to get what? That's not going to go well. But you know what I mean? I kind of have some confidence in the individual talent and them being able to step up in the moments.
It is like the question that American fans have been asking since 2014 is like, can this team compete with the Germanys and teams around the world that are regarded as, like the top 15 in FIFA rankings. But, those same people have to really take a good look in the mirror and be like, we're not beating the Trinidads right now. We're not beating the Costa Ricas that have 17-year-old debut players. I think we just still need a real look in the mirror and like a reality check of let's take things slow and one game at a time, which I know Berhalter has really been throwing that message around in the last year or two is, taking it one game at a time. But it's a long project. Since 2018 when we didn't qualify, we knew this was going to be a long overhaul and rebuilding phase for the way that we do things in this country. I mean, the pay-to-play model has been like the thing, the way do you get into soccer, and thankfully we're just now starting to battle that in a few different areas around the country. But, it's just going to be a lot more time until we can start to compete with teams like that.
So do you think playing against not being able to just put away the CONCACAF teams is an issue, and that's where we're going to get like a slap in the face when we play in the World Cup? Or do you view CONCACAF as a different thing? I don't know.
I just think it's like a big tell of, are we going to be able to compete against those other teams? And if we're struggling in a lot of areas and around these teams of, Costa Rica and teams like Panama, which we wiped Panama, but those kind of.
But not the first time.
No, not the first time. And Canada is still looking clearly better than us in recent months too. I just think we really need to still put our head down and focus on completely remodeling the concept of soccer in this country.
Yeah. it'll be interesting. And then the draw, I mean, by the time you're listening to this episode, the draw might be out. So we'll know who we're playing really soon. Well, by the time you're listening, Carver and I have no clue at the present moment, but
I think it's Saturday at 11, if I'm not wrong.
I think it's Friday
at
at
11.
Friday 11 Central Time, 12 Eastern. So, yeah. But we are going to get back into some Dortmund stuff, unless you have anything else about USMNT. Nope. I thought Gio looked good, and that's good for Dortmund. We're going to take a quick break and throw things over to Adam for an update on the Dortmund women's team.
Hey all, Adam Dorowski here with another update about the BVB women's team. So the women's team was in action on Sunday against Teutonia Landstrop. Now, the last time BVB had faced Landstrop, they won 15-0 at home. So unfortunately, this time the match was not broadcast. So we missed a lot of goals, though, because the women won 14-0, meaning that over the two matches they scored 29 and conceded 0, just an absolutely absurd number. Now, the last couple of Dortmund matches were canceled because of COVID infections in the team, and there are still many lingering absences from that. So there were some interesting personnel changes for this week. Midfielder Louisa Bergman found herself as the starting goalkeeper, and she was forced into action to make one save that I know of. I don't know how much more action there was. I assume there wasn't much in a 14-0 match, but I do know that she had to be called upon to make one save. So from the 14 goals, we had 4 for Anne-Catherine Lau, we had 3 for Caroline Kahl, we had 2 for Anna Zabel, and we also had 3 first-time goal scorers for the team. Defender Denise Portners was a first-time goal scorer. Hannah Schneider scored her first goal for the team, and Annika Falker also scored her first goal. Lisa Clemen also scored, the captain Lisa Clemen. She was the one that scored the opener in the 4th minute. And the final goal was scored by Hannah Guzman, which is significant because she was the top scorer before going down with a injury over the winter break. She had broken an arm, had surgery, but she is finally back, and she scored the 14th goal in the 88th minute. But that was not even the most significant substitution. So because of the lack of players, the head of women's football, Svenja Schlenker, actually started on the bench. Now, this is significant because Svenja is the one who essentially brought the women's team to Dortmund. She's worked with the club for years and has been really pushing hard to get a women's team, and she is the one that's in charge of this department. And she's a former footballer, of course, and she was called upon to be on the bench in this match because they were short players. And lo and behold, she was substituted in and played nearly the last half an hour of the match. She did not get on the score sheet. I believe she was playing at fullback, but from what I heard, she did hit the post on one occasion, which is just awesome. It was a dream come true for her to play for Borussia Dortmund, this team that she put together, and now she got to play for this club that she holds so dearly and is such a massive part of. And it was just a wonderful moment. I'm really disappointed that they didn't stream this match, but luckily Danny Fritz, who is a Dortmund club employee, he's the voice that you hear when watching the home matches of the women's team. He's the one that's announcing the goals. He does so many different things for the team, I can't even begin to explain them, but he was on the sidelines and shot a nice video. And it was just such a wonderful moment. So anyway, what's coming next for the women's team? On Sunday, they play against Berghofen. Last time they played against Berghofen, it was one of their tougher matches. It was a 4-0 win. But hopefully we'll have a few more players back from COVID. And then the Solahose match that was rescheduled is on Wednesday, April the 6th. So 2 matches this week. And the cup match against Fambler that was also canceled because of COVID has been rescheduled for later this month, later next month, April 28th. So we got a while to wait for that cup semifinal. So again, they're still top of the table, 11 matches, 11 wins, no draws, no losses, 87 goals scored, and 0 goals conceded. So that is your update. I am Adam Dorowski, Fußballtwit on Twitter, and thanks for asking me to do this again. Bye.
All right, so we do have all of Adam's info, so you can stay connected with him, check out his website, and stay up to date with everything about the Dortmund women's team. So all that is in the description below. And as we wrap this episode, we're just going to look ahead at the final games of the season. We have 7 left. We're sitting in second, 57 points. Bayern is at 63 points. Again, I don't want to say that the title race is on, but it might be if things go well this weekend. So, yeah, we're just going to take a look at the upcoming fixtures. And honestly, I mean, looking at our game and the game that Bayern have this weekend, it is a chance.
Yeah, again, we mentioned already that it's Bayern's league to lose. It is not ours to win. And when we say things have to go well this weekend, we're not only talking about us pulling out a victory against Leipzig, but also Bayern dropping points, which close to never really happens. But these last 7 games, if you're comparing, both Dortmund and Bayern's schedules, I would argue we have much of a easier last few fixtures. I mean, Bayern have Freiburg, and that is at Freiburg this Saturday. And then they have us in a few weeks, and then they end the season with being away at Mainz and then away at Wolfsburg, which I think, that's 4 games that's going to be pretty darn difficult to compete against. And meanwhile, we have Leipzig, and then we have Bayern. But after that, we have Bochum, Greuther Fürth, and then Hertha Berlin. And Hertha is going to be at home. So, we have 3 teams in a row that are, again, going to be in relegation battles. But in December, we had the exact same thing. And we were like, yeah, this will be an easy 9 points.
We're very optimistic at the end of 2021, and that did not go well at all.
So 21 points to compete for. I'm going to predict that we get 16 of those, and we just come up pretty short at the end of the season.
So, okay, I want to run through these individually. Leipzig, you already said a draw.
Mm-hmm.
At Stuttgart.
I think we pull away a win.
Wolfsburg.
Win.
Bayern.
Loss.
Bochum.
And that's at home as well, so we're going to win that one.
At Fürth.
And then hopefully we win that one. And then I would either argue probably a win or a tie against Berlin at the end of the season. So 16 or 17 points.
So, okay, I pretty much, I think I'm optimistic and say we beat Bayern, but I also feel I don't think we're gonna win the last 3. I think we'll at best we'll draw at Fürth. And so I don't know where my points are, but that's where I'm sitting.
That's pretty ballsy given Fürth is dead last in the league and they have.
Well, did we draw them last time or
no? We beat them 3-0. But it was okay. But it was like the worst 3-0 you can imagine. I don't want to stroke us too much in that sense because we won 3-0, but we had Haaland on the field and a handful of we didn't have many injuries at the time, and we still looked really rough that game. But I think we can go away and win there. It's just our biggest struggles are going to be this weekend at Bayern and then potentially Stuttgart as well.
Yeah. If this weekend goes perfectly, like we beat Leipzig and we get some good, I don't know, good
momentum going.
Mm-hmm. I didn't want to say momentum because then we'll lose the next week probably because that's what we do. But I think the big thing is, this is the best weekend to see Bayern drop points. Mm-hmm. Because they have Freiburg, so that's like our best chance. And then if they beat Freiburg, then
it's a matter of them losing at Freiburg and at Mainz, which both 2 very defensively solid teams, and they both pretty much never lose at home. And Bayern are away for both of those games, so that's 6 points right there. But that's a big ask for both of those teams to pull away wins against Bayern Munich. But if a miracle happens with those 2, and then we can somehow pull out another miracle and win against or at Bayern, who knows? But I'm going to go 16 out of the 21 points, and it's coming in second.
All right. Well, we said it was going to be a short episode, and we went about our normal time, so that's good. I guess because I said we didn't have anything to recap, and then we recapped all of USMNT, so it's fine. It's fine. So that's it. Again, Dortmund this Saturday, 11:30 Central Time versus Leipzig. And then I'll probably be watching we're Saturday. And then Bayern Saturday morning, 8:30. I'll probably be watching that too. And I know all the Dortmund fans are going to be watching it because they all feel like we've already signed Nico Schlotterbeck, which I wish that was true, but
Me too.
I'm not gonna hold on to that hope just yet because we've seen what happens.
Everyone should go and watch this game this weekend. It's a sight to see, to have all the fans back, and I imagine we're gonna have some mind blowing choreography going on with the South Stand. Having all 81,000 fans there, or at least however many home fans. What is it, like 70 something thousand? But yeah, very very excited.
Thanks again for hanging out and listening. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts and YouTube by searching the BVB Podcast. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the BVB Pod, and email us thebvbpod@gmail.com. But don't send us like spam. Send us some fun forwards or something.
Did someone send us spam?
I don't know. No, nobody emails us except Google and Instagram.
That's funny.
You guys got a new message.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine. If anyone doesn't have social media, want to email us for official business inquiries. You want to send us money? Perfect. Send us an email.
Which, speaking of business inquiries, we will have another announcement in the coming weeks, but we will be having a really fun guest on the coming month.
Yeah, I don't know if we should tease that or not, but here's a tease. We got an announcement. We're going to have a fun guest sometime soon.
Yeah. We'll give more details later.
So on that note, bye. See ya.